Hey y'all, it's Doula Talk Tuesday. We've been going good, y'all. I hope y'all have been enjoying the conversation and the people that has been coming along. We're going to keep the momentum rolling for this week. Let me see if I can add Miss Candace. Hold on one moment, y'all. Let's see. Oh, Lord. I hope we don't have no technical issues. How y'all doing? Let me see. Uh-oh. And if y'all see any technical issues, please let me know in the comments if y'all can hear me. Let me know where y'all from. Hype up the comments. Don't let me be here by myself. I can't. Why is it so hard to add someone? It was so easier before. Okay. Invite. All right, bear with me. Really? I don't see anybody. I don't even see. I don't know if my... It's saying... There we go. I see people now. Before it was saying nobody. Now I see people. Y'all, I'm finna start singing The Devil is a Liar. Okay. I'm trying to add Miss Candace. Can you, Candace, put something in the comments. Let me see. Let me enable. Y'all, come in a couple of weeks. We finna have a new, fresh setup. Look, y'all are with us in the beginning stages. So, okay. Let me see. Cancel. It won't allow me to add you, which is crazy. Audience. Oh my gosh. It won't let me be great tonight, y'all. Because it's not even allowing me to add. Y'all, I think I may have to come out and come back in. Because I can only see Brittany. And Brittany, she's going to be back in a couple more weeks. It won't let me add. Can you request Candace? Okay, bam. Okay, there we go. There we go. We got it. We got it. I think we got it. I think we got it. Come on. Come on. Come on. Okay, I requested you, girl. What's going on? Lord. Exactly, but I hope y'all enjoyed the conversation. Candace, are you seeing? Because I requested to add you. Is it doing it? Do I need to redo it again? Because I'm requesting. Okay, I'm finna do it again. Okay, I'm requesting to add. We got it. I think we got it. Okay, I'm requesting to add.
Okay. Well, girl, hold on. I gotta figure out, I told you about my phone. So let me figure out about my charger because I gotta
You
get
on
one
your
that's gonna be
phone? The
able to
computer
allow
didn't
me to
work?
hold it up. It didn't do it on my laptop. I think that's what the issue was. It was the laptop.
Okay.
Okay, so give me a second.
All right. So while we're waiting on Candace, let's start introduction. So again, this is Doula Talk Tuesdays. Again, every Tuesday. I'm featuring a doula, a healthcare specialist, someone that's in the field of maternity, so we can just spread awareness, tell our story. Again, this is every Tuesday at 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. Also, I'm starting something new for November. I cannot wait. I'm gonna go ahead and release it out in the atmosphere. It's called the Parent Trap Conversations. So y'all heard of the Parent Trap, the movie with Lindsay Lohan and the twins. So I just decided to come up with kind of like a late night. It's going to be the same time, but it is going to be on Thursdays to highlight mothers, so we can talk about motherhood, and even dads as well. So if you all know dads that are doing like a good job, I really want to speak and have conversations with them as well. But again, just going back, I just want to really focus on parenthood, because parenthood is hard. It does, I wouldn't even say hard, but it's a journey. It doesn't matter if you have 1 kid, 3 kids, 5 kids. It's a journey. So the first person will be on is my girl Miss Van. She has, how many kids she have? 5 kids. She says she's done, but we don't know. But she's gonna be on, and that starts November the 7th, and that will be Thursday at 8:30 p.m. I will be posting information regarding that. So I'm just trying to keep this momentum going and rolling, just as far as spreading awareness for mothers, as far as doula work, birth work, how we can serve, and then also I really want to start incorporating parents in general, the mother and the father, because like how we were saying before, it takes two to tango. And a lot of times we do focus on the mother, but we also need support, we also need strength, and we also need just information for the dads as well, so they can have a safe place, so they can be like, yeah, I be going through this, or they can give us tips, because it's different perspectives, and I feel as though we should incorporate it all. So I wanted to make that good announcement real quick, and now my girl Candace, she back, so we can get back into the real nitty gritty of why we're here. So again, today's topic is about birth planning, and I feel as though this is a great topic, because this is not only for mothers that are currently pregnant, that are expecting, that are due for labor. It's also for women that are thinking about having a baby. You know, you can start planning now. I wouldn't even suggest, and I know we're probably going to dive in deep, I wouldn't even suggest you start planning everything when you're pregnant, because that can be even more stress for you. So if you start at the beginning, when you child free, it's you and your mate, you and your husband, you know, and y'all just sitting down like, hey, what type of birth do you want, girl? Like, what type of birth do you want, dad, future dad? I feel as though it can really alleviate, and it can also start sooner preparing, because y'all, this stuff is costly. And we're gonna dive in deep into birth planning. It takes a lot of effort, a lot of time, and then also again, like how we talk, we don't know the plans. Just like it says in the Bible, our plans is different from God's plans. We may be planning a whole 9 month journey in pregnancy. You may have an early labor. You just never know. So having these type of conversations just bring awareness, and just also just be realistic of what pregnancy and parenthood is about. So without further ado, I'm going to pass it to Candace so she can introduce herself, because I know it may be some people watching this for the first time. So go ahead, girl, introduce yourself, and let's get this conversation going.
All right, so I'm Candace. I'm a birth and postpartum doula. I'm also a pregnancy loss doula. I own Be Well, and I also own Milk Mommy. And Milk Mommy, actually, I'm trying to get the word out about Milk
Yes,
Mommy. So Milk Mommy
yes.
is a business that I just started, and so I'm doing breast milk jewelry, breast milk soap, and then also freeze drying breast milk. So with the freeze drying breast milk service, that includes you shipping your breast milk to me, and then I freeze dry, so I make it a shelf shelf-stable powder that allows you to travel with it and all of that, so you don't necessarily have to travel with liquids. And it converts it to the powder, and so you can give the powder to your mom, to your grandmama, or whoever. You don't have to worry about them basically giving the baby milk that's liquid. They can just treat it like formula, take the powder, mix it with a little bit of water, reconstitute it, and then it goes back to its original state pretty much.
Yes,
And freeze dried milk also is good. I know they say like moms with high lipase that you don't have to throw away your milk. You can just take that milk and freeze dry it, and it neutralizes the taste of high lipase. So that's me.
period. And she does a whole lot of other things. And also, just to plug in at the beginning, please plug in what's going on in November, how people can support. There is vendor opportunities available, and also a way to donate. So just plug this in now before we get everything started.
Yes. So if you go to my page and look under the event section on my page, you will see Moms Giving and Community Baby Fair. So November 17th, myself and Nikita are hosting, Doula Nikita, we are hosting Moms Giving and a community baby fair. And so the Moms Giving portion of it, we're actually in the process of doing a community baby drive right now, where we're asking people in the community to donate new or gently used, like car seats, strollers, carriers, all those things. And then we're also accepting diapers, wipes, blankets, baby books, gift cards. And that's going on this week and next week. And if you do a drop off, you can drop off at Briarwood Art Center off of Briarwood Drive. And that's the Moms Giving portion. And then the community baby fair part of it is we will have different people from the community, doulas, midwives, other vendors that cater to moms and babies, that are showcasing their products, their services, and we're just trying to get the word out on different resources and people in the community that can connect with moms, babies, and even dads.
Yes.
So if you have a business and you're interested, please reach out to me, and we would love to have you there. And for all of the vendors that do decide to participate, we would do a vendor spotlight where we highlight your business on social media to get the word about your business out. And that's kind of like a little, I guess, little gift to our vendors.
Yes. Yes, I love it. I'm all about community baby showers. So again, if you know even a mom that's in need, make sure you share it, allow them to register. Because again, we're going to be talking about it, and this ties hand in hand, birth planning. When I was pregnant, I know Candace, she can talk about it too. I didn't care. I was getting my resources. I got so many packing plays. I got double car seats. I got double breast pumps because, again, you just never know. And also, you don't know about your situation. You may have two vehicles. You may need two car seats. Your grandma may be in the village. You may be going to work, and she may need a car seat. She may need another packing play at her place. So make sure you all utilize the resources. And then also, again, push our pride to the side, put your ego to the side. It's all about you being prepared for this baby. Look, we gonna talk about it. It's a different mindset when you know you have a new responsibility, and this responsibility is stuck with you for life. So again, make sure you all utilize these resources, and then also make sure you share. It doesn't hurt to like, it doesn't hurt to share, and just spread the information so everyone, anybody who needs it can get it, and it's available. So anything else? Any other announcements before we get this thing started?
No.
Okay. Period. All right. So again, today's topic is about birth planning. Just to share a little bit of insight for those who may not know, just beginner stages when it comes to birth planning. Birth planning is very essential when it comes to pregnancy, when it comes to childbirth. And I really feel as though many people skip over this part and go straight to let's prepare for delivery, just go straight to the meat and potatoes, but you forget about this main part, especially for those who may be having a home birth, or who may be having a water birth, or want to do things at home. Again, you never know what may happen during your labor, during your delivery. You may have to be transferred to the hospital if you didn't prepare for the option. And it's not saying putting things into in the atmosphere that it may change, but you have to be prepared. You have to just be realistic about the choices. Even me, although I prepared for a home birth and I wanted to do a water birth, my daughter came a week early, and a pool was not in my apartment, and I had her at home. And even though I knew I was going to have a home birth, I still prepared and have measures in place if I was to be transferred or things happen. I had a prepared paper in place for not only my doula, my midwife, but also my mate at that time. So everybody was on one accord. So birth planning is really about your village being on one accord of the things that you want established in your pregnancy, also in your delivery, and we're also going to talk about in postpartum as well. It's like a 3-stage process. So the beginning part, the delivery and labor, and also postpartum. And those of you all who are not pregnant and you all are with your husband or with your mate, you all need to start thinking about the birth planning. Like, hey, do you want to do it at a hospital? What hospital you want? Have you start checking the reviews of the hospital? Do you know what OB you want to go to? Does that OB align with your hospital? Like, it really goes in deep because you really want to have a smooth, a fresh, a stress-free labor and delivery. And you also need to have a stress-free just pregnancy. Your overall goal and mindset to be really, I wouldn't say mourning, but just getting the last pieces, the final moments of you just being a child-free person, enjoying pregnancy, enjoying the love, because pregnancy, it gives you a lot of love. People are oohing and eyeing. Oh, you. Oh my gosh, you're glowing. You need to enjoy the love, enjoy the feels, enjoy the emotions. You don't need to be stressed and worrying about the little things. So I just wanted to add it there, but I know Candace, she's finna dive in deep, so I'm gonna pass it on to her, so she can really hit these topics and we can flow. So yeah.
All right. So I wish we could like show our screen, but I'm on my laptop and I have my custom birth plan. It's actually a birth preferences sheet. So I like to say we have a plan, but plans go astray.
Yes.
Things don't necessarily go as planned. So I say birth preferences. This is what you prefer to happen in an ideal world. This is what your preferences are. And so I'm just, if you see me looking off to the side, that's me looking at my
Yes.
screen to kind of tailor to what we're going to talk about. But so one of the first things that I talk to my clients about is, how do you see yourself laboring? Are you the type of person that time you feel contractions, are you wanting to go to the hospital, or are you wanting to labor at home for a longer period of time? And then when we think about all of those different things, like how you plan on laboring, we also need to take into account how far is the hospital from where you're living, because we
Yes.
got to figure out that distance. So if you are in active labor and you have contractions coming every 4 to 5 minutes, are we going to be able to make it to the hospital in time?
Mhm.
And then also looking at, is it your first, second, third, so forth and so on, baby? Because moms who are, typically first time moms, they labor a lot longer than moms that it's their second and third time having a baby. And so we take all of that into consideration, and the majority of my clients actually choose to labor at home until they get to that active labor stage. And the thing is, once you get into active labor, it's hard to stop it. I mean,
Mhm.
it's gonna keep on trucking. So at that point, it's best to go on to the hospital at that point, because those contractions are going to keep coming. And um someone said to me once before, once you step out of your home, that is when you have all of these external things that happen. You're out of your comfort zone, and so that's when labor starts to stall. Whenever a woman isn't necessarily in active labor and she steps out of her home and then she goes to the hospital. When she gets to the hospital at that point, then you had contractions that were about 6 minutes apart. Now your contractions are slowed down to 10 minutes apart, 11 minutes apart, whatever it may be, because you are out of the comfort of your home. You're in a new environment. You had to get in the car. You had to take that ride. You had to go through the whole intake process and all of that. And it's like it stalls the process and it stalls the body. So waiting until you get into active labor, and you can tell by a mom's demeanor when active labor has kicked in. You can look at, there's different signs that you can look at. But like I say, I love, and if I have a way, if I could just plan all of everybody's birth, wait until that active labor starts and then you go to the hospital. So I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
Yeah, let's talk because I want to tell about like my experience because again, when my contraction started, it started early Saturday and I was at the outlet mall and I was just walking around and I thought it was the Braxton Hicks, I'm like, okay, and I just kept feeling discomfort. I drove, well, I didn't drive, but we drove an hour, 30 minutes outside of my home and then it started picking up. I'm like,
Mhm.
something ain't right, honey.
Uh,
Something ain't right. I ended. I'm like, it's time to go back home. Like you said, going back
mhm.
to the comfort. And the moment got on the road, it started getting closer and closer and closer. But I was still managing the pains. But the moment I stepped foot back in this place, I felt like my daughter already knew. She was like, it's time. It's about to go down. And fireworks happened. It was like back pain, stomach pain. It was exactly what you said. I
Mhm.
was in my comfort now. So it just felt like a relief, but that's when the action really
Yeah.
started. So again, moms, you have to be aware of this. You have to know this. And then also, this is when your doula is going to come into play. This is when your doula is going to tell you, is going to be asking your questions like, hey, so how you feeling? What are the contractions? Hopefully, you're going to have your mate there, and they'll be counting. He's going to be counting the contractions. That's what my mate did.
Mhm.
He was looking at the timer. Okay, is this minute apart? Okay, breathe. You're going to have those people in place, but it's important to plan for that process and then also to be realistic of, hey, if I'm not close to my hospital, what's the next best step? Have 911, call 911. If you need to call 911, 911. Have your OB on standby. Do you have their numbers
Mhm.
in the phone? Be planned, be prepared for that. Also, depending on who your village is, they need to have your point of contact when it comes to your doula, when it comes, if you're going to have a midwife, when it comes to your OB, all of that needs to be in place. And then also speaking with the hospital, what I did, even though I knew I was planning for a home birth, I still toured the possible hospital that could have been my transport. Even my midwife told me to do that. So I did a quick breeze around. I even went in, I seen the scope just in case, because again, like what she said, you just never know. So I really want
Right.
to let that in there.
Yeah. And then going back to what you were saying, even though you had a home birth, you still had a hospital contingency plan. And so a lot of times, a lot of midwives, they will have where you pick a hospital that you would prefer to go
Yeah.
to in the event that you needed to transfer. And then you also put on your, I guess, little form that you would put like on your refrigerator or wherever so everybody can see the plan. But
Mhm.
then you also have the hospital that's the closest to you, so if it's something that's emergent and you may not be able to get to that hospital that's your preference, you also have the hospital that's the closest proximity to your house. So that's so, so, so important because you never know. You just never know.
Yeah.
All right. So my favorite thing to talk about, inductions.
Uh,
Lord have
let's
mercy.
talk about it.
So
Yes.
inductions, I feel like inductions happen way too often than they need to happen.
Talk about,
Um
tell them, like for beginner people, what is an induction?
So
Just
Induction is different methods that are used to progress labor, to start labor or contractions. And there's different techniques. There's medical techniques, manual techniques. And so we'll discuss some of those. But then you also have what they say like natural induction techniques, which are like taking evening primrose or doing castor oil. And I know everybody and their grandma had heard of taking castor oil and all of that. But those things are kind of like on the natural side, more gentle side, but those aren't what you would expect if you're having a hospital birth. So we'll talk about the hospital induction stuff, and then we can come back if people are interested to know more about the natural measures and stuff and all of that. But so for induction, so typically you have membrane stripping, membrane rupturing, you have pitocin, and then you have like the cervical balloons. They also have drugs like the ripening drugs, so like Cervidil, Cytotec, Misoprostol, those different drugs that can start labor. And so with the membrane stripping is where the OB, your OB typically, but midwives do this process also, where they go in and insert their finger into the vagina, and then they go and do sweep around where the amniotic sac is around the uterus. And so that has its pros and its cons. And that's the thing with all of these induction methods, they have their pros and they have their cons. And so one of the downsides to doing a membrane strip or sweep is that you can accidentally rupture the membranes. And so rupturing membranes means your water breaks. And so that's a risk that occurs, but it's probably a 50% chance that a woman can go into labor if she has a membrane sweep done. And so usually your provider will ask you if that's something that you're wanting to do. And a lot of times they do that before you go to the hospital and labor. Sometimes just when you're going to your regular OB exam, they'll give you the option, do you want to have a membrane sweep done? And usually when they do those vaginal checks is when they ask you, would you like to have a membrane sweep done? Now, there have been some people that I have heard, none of my clients, but I have heard of people in these different horror stories of doctors that are doing cervical exams and they go in and do a membrane sweep without the mom's
let
consent.
me tell you, look, let's stop. Because I'm so glad you touched it. So remember, y'all, I was planning for a home birth, but I was still going to an OB. Just, I had to have all my ducks in a row. So I immediately knew when I even got pregnant and started my route, I didn't want no cootie mama checks. And y'all, if y'all
Mhm.
know me, y'all know I have my own little terminology. So I didn't want no cootie mama checks, especially when it got to the end, close to the end of my pregnancy, because I heard of stories like that,
Mhm.
that they will literally go inside you, check you, but they end up doing a sweep. Also, I know my cootie mama. My cootie mama is sensitive. Even when I have to get that yearly check, it get weird after the it says I
Mhm.
don't want nobody touching it if it doesn't need to be touched on. So I stood my ground when it came to those checks and any type of sweeps. I didn't want any of that done. But many women, many pregnant mothers don't know that. That's your right. If you don't feel like you want to get checked, you don't have to. They don't have to check your coochie mama. If they see everything on the ultrasound is fine, if your blood levels your blood pressure is working, it's fine. You haven't had any discomfort. You don't have to be checked. So I want you all to be aware of that, because many mothers, many women in general think, okay, the doctor told me to, let's check. No, sometimes during that stage, this week, the baby don't need to it go wake the baby up and the baby just go erupt. Like, so I just wanted to add that on there, because I was like, because she kept asking, she kept trying to press me, but I am stand firm.
Mhm.
You is not gonna touch me down there.
Yeah.
And I'm very glad, because also I kind of felt, and we know sometimes horror stories or the stories where some of the doctors are on certain schedules and they want you to deliver in a certain time frame because they need to go on vacation, or it's about them, they trying to make it about you, and I mean make it about them. And that's one thing I knew, like, you're not finna dictate when this baby come. If my daughter is not ready to come, she's finna stay cooking until God tells her it's time to release these birth pains. So yes, I agree with that,
Yes.
because you hear so many stories about that, which is sad.
Yeah, it is. Now, when you said, it's two things that I'm gonna mention, but when you said allow this baby to cook, that is so true. Unless there is a medically necessary reason that induction needs to happen, just a scheduled induction because you are 40 weeks now, that's not a good enough reason, because your body actually, the baby, when the baby's lungs has fully developed, that's the last thing to fully develop on the baby. So once their lungs are fully developed, they secrete a hormone that signals to the woman's body, okay, it's time to kickstart labor. And so if that's not happening, you're taking away the God ability, the God given purpose of that hormone. And that's why they're giving babies steroid shots to beef up their liver. I mean, not their liver, beef up their lungs, because they were not ready. And they had the induction done and the baby just was not ready. And then another thing that I wanted to talk, a little story time. So story time of a client that I had. Baby, we was on the road going, I was hitting 95 from Vicksburg coming to Jackson. Coming to Jackson. And so this client, she already, when I got to her in Vicksburg, she already was having contractions that were pretty close together. And so we got her gathered and everything, and we were headed to the hospital. And these contractions are coming back to back because, like I said, once you're in active labor, it's no stopping active labor. She gets to the hospital and she had that on her birth plan. She wanted no cervical checks. And so it's important to give your birth plan to every nurse and whoever is on your team, so they're all on the same accord with you to know whatever it is that are your wishes. And so they're hounding her on cervical checks because they're like, well, we have to know how far dilated you are in order to admit you into the hospital. And I'm trying to figure out, when has that become a hospital policy? So it's like, it's those different things. If it's something that you are holding fast to, a conviction that you have, you like, no, I absolutely don't want any cervical checks, don't get any cervical checks. Don't allow them to pressure you, because my thing is, if she's in active labor and her water had already broke at the time, you need to admit her. And so hold true, whatever it is that you know your wishes are, hold true to that, and don't allow them to pressure you into doing something that you're, one, not comfortable with, or two, you just don't want.
Exactly. And also, just to add, when you are inducted, many of my just mothers I know, the pain, the contractions are much more intense compared to the natural. And it's a different type of feeling. And the mothers I talked to, their birthing, it was not pleasurable. Like, even though for me, yes, I was in the pains, but you just can't describe it. It was just like a life. It was like a beautiful moment, even though the pains were there, but I was still enjoying the process. When you sometimes are induced, and this is not for all stories, some mothers can't enjoy it because that pain go to straight, not from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1 to 1,000 immediately, and they couldn't embrace it. For me, the contraction slowly started to build up. So I was starting to prepare. Okay, here come the ring of fire. Okay, I'm remembering the talks, the everything, the all the training that was given to
Right.
me. When it comes to that, and it can go 1,000, 1,000,000, and the mothers is like shocked because it was like, I wasn't prepared for this. It's a strong pain. So we also have to be realistic, and then just want you all to be aware of what may occur when those type of measures are in place. So yeah.
Yes. what you were saying about, how things progress and how much more intense, the contractions and stuff are. That's absolutely, absolutely true. And even from personal experience, I have two little girls. In my first, I actually got induced because I was at 41 and 5 days with her. And so my OB was like, okay, we're gonna do an induction on you. And so I dodged the hospital like a plague when she said it the first time. And then the second time she was like, okay, now we're gonna schedule you again since you missed the first one. And I said, okay. So I ended up going, and I was in labor for 21 hours. And it was some of the most excruciating pain that I had ever experienced. And I was looking at my husband over there, and I told him, I said, look, I said, I think it'll be easier at this point to just die than endure through what I'm enduring. Like, it was just that bad compared to my second birth, which was a home birth. And both births, I would say, were all natural. So other than the induction medications, I didn't get any epidural, I didn't get any IV pain medicines. I stood on business that day. And
I'm
it
so
was
sick.
it was horrible. It was horrible. And then with my home birth, the contractions, like you said, of course, birth isn't just, well, some people say it can be bliss, but it was painful. But the contractions were nothing compared to the contractions that I had on Pitocin. It really does make your contractions so much more worse than what they should be. And I think too, that's why a lot of women choose to not birth naturally, because the pain of those contractions, and it's like, it's so unbearable, you need something to help you cope. And so that's when people start asking for, oh, it's time for me to get that epidural, or doc, what can you put in this IV for me, you know what I'm saying? So I really feel that, and I do agree, there's a time and a place. Absolutely a time and a place for an induction, but we are having too many women that are just being induced for no reason. Just because you are at 40 weeks does not mean it's time to schedule an induction. And then, yeah, it's a lot. I was gonna say, and another reason why they induce a lot of moms too is, now the whole thing is really popular to say, well, your baby's too big. But it's like, oh, okay, do I have gestational diabetes? Because that's the indication that the baby will be big. You know what I'm saying? So it's like looking at all those different things, and then we know ultrasounds are not as accurate the further along you get in your pregnancy. So if they're telling you, oh, it look like your baby weighing 8 pounds or 10 pounds or whatever it is, that was one thing that kind of scared me into being induced the first time. Well, the only time I was induced. But they were saying that my baby was measuring big. They was like, she's measuring like 10 pounds, 8 ounces. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, I got a big baby. But still, that didn't scare me. I missed the appointment, like I said. So then when I ended up birthing her, I had a 7 pound even baby. Like, she was nowhere near 10.8. And so I think they use that also as kind of a scare tactic to go ahead and pressure you in to go ahead and start this process, because once you start this process, within a certain span of time, you're going to be able to deliver that baby versus having a baby be delivered spontaneously. You know what I'm saying? So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
That was a good deep dive, and I think we got to have like a separate conversation, a separate like dialogue about induction
Yes.
options, the pros and cons,
Yes.
and even also we can add when it comes to C-section and not, because
Yes.
that's a new topic,
That's it. Yes.
and that's just a whole nother conversation because we can really go there when it comes to the C-section,
Yes. Yes. That's what we
but
need to do. We
yeah.
need to do like a series on inductions, the hospital way, the natural way, and we can do a deep dive. But like going back over on what I said, so you have the membrane sweeping or stripping, the membrane rupturing, which is artificially breaking the water, and then you have Pitocin, misoprostol, Cervidil, Cytotec, and then the Foley balloon, or the balloons that they put into the vagina. And so another thing to talk about with birth planning is pain relief. So what you gonna do for your pain? Are you gonna go completely natural? Are you gonna get the IV pain medicines? Are you going to have an epidural? Does your hospital offer nitrous oxide, which is laughing gas? So those are different things too to look at to determine, okay, if I do get to the hospital, am I going to use any of these pain reliefs, or what are your thoughts on the different pain reliefs? And I think it's so important to dive deep into looking at what type of medications are given for all of those. What are the pros? What are the cons? And that's why it's so good to have a doula, because I educate my clients on the pros and the cons so they can make their own educated decision
Exactly.
as to whether they're wanting whatever it is that's being offered to them at the hospital. And so yeah.
And just to even when it comes to the pain medication, be mindful, y'all, with certain type of medication. Once they give you, the movement is little to none.
Yeah.
So when it comes to you being at the hospital, sometimes depending on the medication that you may give, you may just only get the IV, but it'll still be like, with the drip, whatever, but you can still move, you can use the ball, you can change positions.
Right.
But if you may decide to do the epidural, baby, you stuck. It's just legs up. That's so you
Yeah.
have to be aware of that, because that can change your whole trajectory of how your birthing experience is. If it's pleasant, are you able to move, are you able to not move? And you have to be mindful of that. And I think many people don't understand when it comes to the epidural. They just say, just give me the epidural. But do you know what really
Mm-hmm.
the epidural is, sis? Like, do you
Mm-hmm.
know, like, they literally sticking something in your back? And then also, you, like what you said, the pros or cons. I hear many people talk about with the epidural, every time when it rains, that back start hurting. Or
Mm-hmm.
ever since I done got the epidural, my back haven't been the same. Or my legs was just numb, or it just halfway stopped, and I had to end up going to get a seat. It's a lot of stories. So mothers, or even women who are not pregnant and are preparing, you have to just get these thoughts mentally in your mind and really do your own research. Yes, the doulas, yes, we are here to navigate you, but this is your birth. Like, we
Mm-hmm.
just the guys, so we just
Right.
a helping hand, but this is your birth, so you really have to be understanding and also aware of which ones that you may want to have, and also have a list in order. Okay, we can maybe start with the IV. If that doesn't work, let's go to XYZ. Or what natural remedies you may want to start first. Like, even with me and my birth at home, I was a hominid at home. So the only thing, my pain relief was that shower. I was going from the bed to the shower to the bed. Or the midwife, or, I mean, not my midwife, but my doula or my mate, they were massaging my back. We
Yeah.
were walking. We were doing those measures. So you really have to be mindful and just be aware of what options you do have at home, and once you transfer to the hospital, what implementations they have in place.
Yes, absolutely. And then another thing that I want moms to think about too is whatever you receive, your baby is also receiving. So
Yeah.
don't think that you are the only one that's getting that medicine, because your baby absolutely, absolutely will get that medicine. And one of the main things you see when the mom gets IV pain medicine or epidural or whatever it is, babies come out sleepy. And when they come out
Mhm.
sleepy, it hinders their breastfeeding experience. And
Mhm.
so because they're so sleepy, they're not so prone to, try to latch, because all they want to do is sleep. And so a lot of moms, have a rough start to breastfeeding, and they don't realize that their rough start actually happens because of it, some type of pain medicine that they receive. And a lot of times it is the epidural that they get, and then, they have the issues. And like you said, the back pain issues, that is absolutely true. And, you can't dictate or determine, and say, hey, I'm going to be that person that's going to have the back pain. You just never
Yep.
know. And you never know. And there's people, I have a client now who's still complaining of back pain from her epidural that she's having. She was saying, like you were saying, as the weather and stuff progresses and it's getting a lot of colder now and stuff, that back pain is increasing. So it's like thinking about those different things too, and being knowledgeable about that, you know, that the baby is getting it. This is something that I'm getting also, the risk associated with it. It's important to know all that. And just like you said, it's not all on the doula to do the educating, but also you as the mom, or the dad or whoever it is, to go out and find that information and educate yourself. Because when you educate yourself and you read through the information too, it sticks better with you because it's something that you saw with your own eyes. And then your doula may iterate whatever it is that you heard. So
And then
that's that.
also you are empowered. And then when you
Yeah.
do actually get, hopefully God forbid you don't, but if that fact you may have to get transferred to the hospital, or even if you do have a hospital birth, when you say what you said, you meant that, and you gonna have some backing because you did your research and you know
Right.
what you're talking about. And them nurses ain't go,
Exactly.
they go know how you are with, like, okay, she know what she's talking about.
Hmm.
They're gonna back, they're gonna relax a bit. So you really have to be mindful of that.
Yes. So the next thing that we'll talk about is comfort measures. So I actually love talking about comfort measures.
Yeah.
And so for my clients, the two big sessions that we have is the birth planning session, and then the second one is the comfort measure session. And so with the comfort measures, we go over all the different techniques in order for you to birth the way that you want to birth. So we go over breathing techniques, the benefits of cold and heat therapy, aromatherapy, acupressure, acupuncture, chiropractic work, just different position changes and all of that, movement, how water and showers, baths, all of that. And so I like to get a feel for the different things that mom may like for me as a doula to do for her or to provide for her, things that she may want her partner to provide for her. And so some of those things are like the birthing ball or the birthing stool.
Yeah.
Like most hospital rooms, and I love this now, most hospitals now provide birth balls and birth peanut balls.
Yeah.
And so that's an excellent way to get some movement in, especially if you are not just like strapped to the bed. It's a way to get up, kind of work that baby down. There's different positions you can get on. And then a lot of times, you know, depending on the hospital that you're at, you know, you probably can use that ball or that peanut ball to give birth, like to help you actually, not just the labor, but actually for the delivery portion. And so it's important to be educated on the different positions and the different ways that you can use it to help your body to birth your baby. But also, those things are so important to get movement into the body even before the baby comes, because, you know, you want to work on all of those stretches that you can do, sitting on the ball, doing your hip circles and doing the side to sides and all of that. It's so important. And so getting familiar with that, they have videos on YouTube where you can look and get familiar with all of that. And then I'm gonna go through this real quick, but like the breathing support, there's so many different breathing patterns and breathing methods that can help you to relax, that can help you to, you know, if you are having to hold back, where you don't have to, like the doctor said, okay, don't push so hard right now, just hold back. You can do little short breaths. Breath work is so important. And one fun fact about the mouth and the womb, there's a mouth womb connection. And so whenever a fetus is developed, in the very beginning stages, there's two indentations that happen. And the two indentations actually end up being the mouth, and the other one is the reproductive area. And so well, let's say a little girl, so her womb space. And so when that fetus grows, what separates it is the spine. And so just like you have mucus when you cough, you have discharge in your vagina. And then also the tension that you hold in your mouth, also it causes tension to be held in your womb. And so whenever you relax your mouth, relax your jaw, it relaxes your womb also. So that's why breathing also is so important, because when you're breathing in and breathing out, it relaxes all of this. Then it also in turn relaxes that vaginal area to allow the baby to be birthed. And that's why I say, like, when you're trying to birth, it's like, I don't want to tear, I don't want to tear. And I'm holding my breath. By holding your breath is also clenching your womb space, and it's not allowing everything to be free flowing so the baby can just come through, so you won't have that tearing and stuff. So being in tune with the way you breathe is important. Hold on, I don't know what just happened with my little laptop. Let's see. Okay, and so another thing is water. So like birthing in the water, laboring in the shower, or whatever it may be that's incorporated with water. So things that I love to say and mention to moms about the water: do not get in the water if your contractions are not in a rhythm that is steady and continuous. And if you're not in active labor, do not get in the water, because the water has the tendency to slow down contractions and stall out labor if you're not in active labor. But again, like we said, if you're in active labor, there's no stopping that. So making sure that you are in active labor whenever you do decide to get into the birth pool is so important. And so one of the benefits, not only because of, the temperature of the water, because, you want the temperature of the water to be warm, but not too warm, where that's comforting, but also the buoyancy that when you get in the water, you feel very like light, and like you can do some things in that water. You know what I'm saying? And so that is in itself very, very helpful for moms, and it's very comforting to them. But one thing that I want to make sure that moms know also is, whenever you get to the hospital and let's say your water has already broken, don't get in no water at the hospital, because we don't know
Exactly.
when the last time they didn't clean them tubs
Exactly.
and all of that.
Exactly.
If you decide to do a shower, that's fine, but submerging yourself in water, especially in an environment that's not as clean as it should be or could be, that's not a good idea, because whenever you submerge your bottom into water like that, especially in somewhere like I said, we don't know the cleanliness of it, that's just a way for bacteria to enter into the vagina, and issues can cascade from there. So massage, you mentioned massage is a really good comfort measure. And massage, especially with some oils and essential oils mixed with it, is wonderful. But there's some people, I'm one of those people, stuff get on my nerves whenever I'm laboring. So I don't want you rubbing no oil with no lavender or
Mhm.
whatever on me, because that smell is gonna stay on me. And so I'd rather have a diffuser. So thinking about that, are you somebody who you get tired of stuff quickly? Then you can, say, okay, well, maybe I should bring a diffuser to the hospital. Or even if you don't have it at the hospital, thinking about how you want to labor at home. Also, well, maybe you can have a diffuser that's diffusing different essential oils. And if you get sick of
Exactly.
one particular scent, you can change it out. You can easily change it out versus having it on you and you got to wash it off. So that is that. And then walking is one of the best
Exactly.
ways to get a baby out. And just the movement along the swaying of the hips is very, very, very similar to when you're on the birth ball. Now you ain't doing all the circles and stuff, but that swaying, that is, it mimics walking. And so that's one way to get the baby to engage in the pelvis. But let's see, I'm trying to think of what else. Acupuncture, and then even chiropractic work. So a lot of times, if you have a baby that's in a wonky position, that's
Mhm.
not in a good position, seeing a chiropractor is absolutely wonderful, wonderful, wonderful to get the baby in a good position. And then even having a breech baby, they do wonderful things with flipping babies that are breech. And so having a chiropractor in your pocket is wonderful. And then even just during the course of the pregnancy, because you have to think, like, our body is shifting, our ligaments are stretching, different things are going on inside of our body, and the alignment that we once had 3 months ago is not the same alignment that we have now. So it's important to have that chiropractor in your back pocket in order for you to go in to get those adjustments, because just by doing those adjustments, it helps so much. And sometimes, babies have a hard time navigating the pelvis and stuff, and it could be just because of an alignment issue within your body that they had that issue. So I think chiropractors are wonderful during pregnancy.
Yeah, and just to add a few things, number one, the birthing ball. I was working at home when I was pregnant with Ori, and I went to Five Below, plug in. I got that
Mm-hmm.
ball, I blew that thing. I was on that ball swinging, just swaying. I'm watching TV in the living room, just swaying. So I'm with my doula clients. I'm going to give y'all a birthing ball, a Five Below birthing ball, because it's
Mm-hmm.
very needed. And it's very. I really feel as though the birthing ball is like therapeutic, because you just swaying. Your hip.
Mm-hmm.
It's just you just feeling it. It just feel good, and just going to the breathing measure. I be sharing my story. I really be sharing my story. That was the end part of how I had Ori, because again, my midwife was not here at my place, and so it's just only Doula and Ori's dad, and I was on all fours, and she was on speakerphone, and she was like, "Just breathe," and I just did one
Mm-hmm.
deep breath, and Ori just popped out, and her dad caught her. That breath work, everything is interconnected.
It sure
It
is.
matters. And
Yeah.
I'm a living witness. It
Mm-hmm.
was that one big sigh, and she just popped out. And only thing the dad could do is just catch
Yeah.
her. So just getting understanding in your breaths, like that's powerful. Even just when pregnancy is like a beautiful experience. Like you just have to realize that. So you just being alone, just breathing, just having your music, your vibe. That's another thing. Like your comfort zone. What's gonna be your music playlist? Like I had
Right.
a whole music playlist. Unfortunately, my labor went active real quick, so I wasn't caring about that. At first, I tried to put it on, but baby, all that stuff get tuned out. But everybody's birth is different.
Yeah.
So you having that nice central, you go play some Mary J, some Anita, whatever you go play. If it's gonna be jazz, if it's gonna be whatever, having that vibe. I'm all for the big vibes. Like, are you gonna have candles lit? Is it gonna be
Yeah.
low dim? That's another thing I feel as though sometimes what stops it, because at my place, I had mostly the lights off. I had my candles lit. Compared to the hospital, bright lights.
Right.
It's like a whole lot. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. You used to be asleep or dark. You got
Mm-hmm.
these bright lights. Like it's
Yeah.
like your whole setting. So be aware. Even my doula, she asked, did I want to put up lights? Like you can put up lights. Just make it the scene that you want. Do you want to have pictures up? My doula, my midwife told me to think about my happy place, my dream vacation. Do you want to have dream vacation pictures up of where you and your child, your family gonna go to next? Things like that. So I really feel as though all of those measures just come into one, and it's gonna overall create that scene, that environment for you. And then also again, like how I was iterating, plan for the hospital. You can bring things with you to the hospital. You don't have to be blah in there. You don't have to rely on them. We can bring the doula. As long as you tell us the birth plan of what you want, what you need, certain items we can bring with us. So,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. And then going back to, this being a preference, not a plan, because
Yeah.
plans can go to
Mhm.
real fast. So, personal little experience that I had with my home birth. My idea, my dream was to have this water birth. And so, my husband pumping up that little pool, putting the water in, make sure it's the right temperature and everything. Baby, I got in that water and said, nope, don't want it, don't want it. So, we didn't use it. And so that's just but that's just how things
Mhm.
can happen. And you can even say like, I don't necessarily want an epidural or something, but let the contractions get strong, then you like, I need that
You need that
epidural.
epidural,
So
yeah.
things, yes, so things do change. It's not a set in stone type of
Mhm.
thing. But I know we getting
Yeah.
close on time, so I'm gonna run through the postpartum part really quickly. So what are you wanting to do about the umbilical cord?
Yeah.
So are you wanting to do delayed cord
Yeah.
clamping, or so they say now hospitals it's standard to do delayed cord clamping. No, it's not. So when I think of delayed cord clamping, I think of we're gonna wait until this cord turns white or stops
Mhm.
pulsating. At that point, it's no good, or it's birth before.
Yes.
If it's birth turns white or it stops pulsating, that's when we cutting it. And you think about like the baby is getting all of their blood after its birth. It's no, in my opinion, it's no good anymore because it's not uh um what's the word, a it's not pumping any blood anymore. It doesn't
Yeah.
have any
Flow,
muscles or
blood flow.
anything, muscles
Muscle.
to
Okay.
pump
Yeah.
anything at that point. And so once that baby gets all of its blood, that's perfect. And you want that to happen too because you see an increase in the baby's body temperature, an increase in the baby's blood levels, increase in blood sugar levels. You see an increase in all of those different things. Now, there are reasons, of course, for you to cut the cord, before all of those things happen, or even cut the cord in the process of the baby being birthed. But it's like in the ideal, that's what we're playing for, your ideal scenario. And so, cord, that's what delayed cord clamping is. The next thing I want to know, what are your plans for your placenta? So
Yeah.
I say, like I said in the very first episode, I tell all the women that are going to the hospitals, look, you want to get your placenta, take your placenta home. You can do so many different things with it. You can do placenta art, you can encapsulate it, you can grow a garden with it, to put a tree on top of it, you can put it in your freezer. You can do so many different things, but it's like if you don't want to do anything with it, at least that's your option. You can determine that at home because there's so many placentas that are sold to these research companies where they're doing research, extracting stem cells, and doing all of this stuff with placentas. And sometimes women don't have knowledge of it. Sometimes they do give their consent. It's just kind of a gray area. So I say, take your placenta home. You determine what you want to do with it at home. And so, skin to skin, skin to skin to be initiated, after the baby has been born. So immediately after that baby comes out, you want that baby going right to you on your chest. And then if you're having a C-section or something like that, then the baby going directly to dad or your partner or whoever it is there at the hospital. And by doing that, that helps so much with initiating and starting the breastfeeding journey. And you see, it's the cutest little thing. The mom puts the baby on the chest, and then the baby kind of try to get to the
Yeah.
nipple
I watched
and
some
start.
videos
And they
of the
they
training.
are
Yeah.
so smart. They are
Yeah.
so smart, and they can
Yeah.
smell. They can smell that
Everything.
breast milk, that
Yeah.
colostrum.
Yeah.
And it's a familiar smell because it smells like the amniotic fluid. So it's something familiar to them. That's why they're so good at doing it. So then also, what are your plans? Are you planning to exclusively
Yeah.
breastfeed? Are you
Yeah.
wanting to
Yeah.
formula feed? Are you wanting to do a combination of it? Those are different things to put on your birth plan. And also another thing to put on there is, do you want your baby to have a pacifier?
Mhm.
So the thing with the pacifier is, when do you want that to be introduced? Because some people say, it is studies out there that shows that introducing a pacifier at a certain stage, especially to a newborn like that, can cause nipple confusion in a baby
Yeah.
that's going to be breastfed, exclusively breastfed. And so thinking about those different things, are you wanting the pacifier or not? And then another little, let's see, a bath. Do you want your baby to get a bath at the hospital? So the vernix, that the white gooey stuff that's on the baby, is so beneficial for their skin. It's so
Mhm.
beneficial for their immune system because
Mhm.
once the baby passes through the vagina, that's when their gut biome and microbiome is seated. And so it
Mhm.
allows all of that good bacteria and stuff to absorb into their skin and to help to boost their immune system.
Mhm.
So if I can encourage anybody, don't let that baby get a bath.
Mhm.
Just take the baby home. They can get a wipe off where you wipe some of that vernix off and the blood off, but don't actually submerge the baby where they're getting water and soap and getting all of that off. And it helps tremendously with different skin conditions like eczema or psoriasis or anything like that, because it's moisturizing to the skin, and it really is beneficial. And then let's see, moving on down, vaccinations. So the three things that babies receive are the hepatitis B, the erythromycin eye ointment, and then also the vitamin K injection. Or you can, if you're doing like a home birth, you can decide to do the vitamin K orally.
Yeah.
You can even do, also say, if you're in the hospital, you can just say you don't want it and you can do it orally at home on your own. But those three different things. So what are your plans for that? So there is a website, and it's called justtheinserts.com. And you can go to that website, and they have all vaccinations on there, and you can look at the pros, the cons, and also the ingredients to those vaccinations, so you can determine, what you want to do when it comes to receiving that hepatitis B, the erythromycin, and then the vitamin K. And then, do you want your baby to be circumcised or not if they're a little boy? So that's a huge, huge thing. And I don't think a lot of people kind of think of that as being on the birth plan. So determining if you want your baby to be circumcised, and if so, are you wanting it to be done at the hospital? If not at the hospital, then your baby is going to have to get that vitamin K injection and go to their pediatrician or urologist to get that done after the fact. So those are the things to think about postpartum in the hospital.
This was so good. Just I don't even know what parts I want to touch on, because you just said so much that was beneficial. I ain't gonna even speak on it because I'm gonna end up hitting every single little thing. I'm just not gonna do it. But just be mindful of this information. Do your research. That's one thing I will say. Do your research, and then also I will say that's what I wanted to talk about. For your birthing plan, when the delivery and the laboring starts, who do you want to know? Who do you want the information? Me, nobody knew until after that. After I had Ori, because I just didn't want people blowing my phone up. I didn't even want people to blow him up. I told my mom. I think I told my mom. I don't even know if I told my mom. Now I'm thinking, I don't even know what, but I knew. No, none of my friends didn't know until after the fact. None of my family didn't. Other big family didn't know after the fact. I wouldn't say I did tell my mom, but you have to also just have a contact list as far as, okay, besides your mate or besides your grandma, who is the next point of contact that's going to know? Because even like with my doula, us moms, we're going to be in labor. We ain't going to have time texting everybody. We don't want to be on FaceTime with everybody. Everybody shouldn't be knowing. That's going to stop us, sidetrack us for being in tune with ourselves, with the baby, and what's going on. So my doula, she was on standby, like, look, who you want me to call? Do you want me to answer the phone and so and so? So you need to have measures in place when your delivery, when everything's starting. Who do you want to know? And if people are calling in, checking in, what information do you want released? Do you want things released afterwards, or do you want to be the person that release it? Also, again, keep in mind, if you are induced or if you go to like the C-section, have to get medication, make sure people know your birth plan, because you're going to be on drugs. You're going to be in the days. Make sure your dads, the mates, the village that's in your circle that's going to be there, they are empowered and they know your birth plan maybe better than you know, so they can really be your advocate. Because I think many people who are like don't have a baby, or even those who are not, are in the process of, like, in emotions of being pregnant, it's a different world when you go into the hospital. That's not your work. You're walking into their domain. So again, things run different. So you need to have your birthing measures in place so they know, like, okay, she ain't playing no games, like what I said earlier. And your village, your dad, even with the dad, like, moms, we gotta let a dad be a dad. The dad's supposed to stand up for us. The dad's supposed to be the main point. Let him be empowered in that moment. Be like, oh no, he got it. Let him handle things so it can alleviate stress off of you. So I really want to add that.
Let me add one more thing, 'cause this just hit my head. Pack you some snacks
Yes,
and the drinks that you want, coconut water, body armor, whatever it
yes,
is, because the hospital, they
watermelon.
gonna tell you
Yes,
you can't have nothing, you can't have nothing to drink. But it's
yes,
like birth is one of the most physically taxing things that a mom can
yes,
do, and you have to have fuel in order to do that. So if you need a snack, have a
yes,
snack. And then I always tell clients, you got to think about it like this. They say, well, the doctor said or the nurse said that it can cause me to choke, or they, aspirate and all this stuff. Okay, well, if a mom comes in, she was in a car accident, she just left from a restaurant, she got food in her stomach, she having a baby, all these different things, what they gonna do? They
exactly.
have measures in place to take care of that. If that was to happen, they have things in place to help you out with it. But it's like we need to get out of starving moms during labor.
Yes.
That's why a lot of moms tap out, because they don't have the necessary fuel that their body
Mhm.
needs in order to, perform, to be able to birth that baby. And a little personal tidbit, my first baby was my doula. I'm eating ice chips and she in there with a whole rotisserie chicken from Sam's Club. So please do not be that support partner or that doula or midwife or whatever, because that's something that sticks out in my mind. And it may be something that, my doula, she may not have remembered at all, may have forgotten completely about, but it stuck with me. So it's like those different things to be mindful about. Be mindful of when you're coming into a woman's environment when she's birthing. Birth is instinctual. It is something that we have been doing since the beginning of time. It's very primitive. And so whenever you do things like that, it takes the woman out of her element. Even wearing perfume is something that can take a woman out of her
Mhm.
element. And so being mindful of all of those different things, the way you present yourself, the way you smell, the way just different scents and stuff like that, it can take the woman out of her element. And so I think that's what I'm going to end it at.
Yeah, and just to even speak on the birthing plan, just plan in general with your pregnancy.
Yeah.
If you work, if you have a 9 to 5 work life, plan your schedule when you're gonna take those vacations, when are you gonna have your me time. When it came to like the massage, that's what I wanted to tap in. For my birthday, I end up getting like they have like different type of pregnant mom massages where they
Mm-hmm.
don't hit certain touch points. It was so lovely for me. I was able to get that for my birthday. I got that done. Also plan vacations, plan even getaways, even if you go to a hotel in your same city, get out. You just need to enjoy these final months of you just being kid free, or even if you already have kids, you have added another addition to your family. Also, moms who have their mate or their husband, plan interactions for both of you all.
Yeah.
Date night don't stop just because y'all pregnant. Still enjoy you all's company, because again, things change when another
Right.
addition comes into that environment. Also plan that final meal. I had Godfrey's. I'ma always rep Godfrey's. Godfrey's is my place. My final meal was a good old chicken plate from Godfrey's. I had my sides, my smothered cornbread, and it was delicious.
Yeah.
And I had the same thing after I had Ori. So you have to plan for, like what you said, your dinner. After you have your baby, you better make sure your mate or your village have your next best meals. What is the nourishing food that you want after your baby? And then also just going back to breastfeeding and a pacifier. Again, just talking about the breastfeeding. They told me about that. I didn't give Uri a pacifier. The moment when I did want to introduce, she spit that thing up like she was drinking some nasty. But she was used to the booze. So be mindful of that, and also be aware of certain things that you do or do not implement and you want to implement down the line that may change. I
Yeah.
end up exclusively breastfeeding until she was like 9 or 10 months, and I had to really force the bottle on her. You have to be mindful of that. So before we wrap it up, I'm gonna pass it on to Candace to see little last minute remarks or anything else you want to say.
So my last minute remark is, girl, go ahead and plan that birth out. And it
Exactly.
doesn't have to be like you said in the very beginning. It does not have to be, where I'm pregnant and I need to do a birth plan. You don't have to wait until you're pregnant in order to plan your birth and to think of your ideal scenario. It's good to start educating yourself before you even get pregnant. And you
Yeah.
never know, that information may be able to help somebody in your tribe, a family member, whoever it may be, later on down the road. And so I'm gonna put in another little plug for the community baby shower and mom's
Yes,
giving.
please.
That's on November 17th, and it'll be at Briarwood Art Center. And we are looking for an amazing turnout. And we will have different resources and vendors from the community. We have our community baby drive. So if you feel so generous to donate, any new or gently used baby products or baby carrier, stroller, crib, car seat, whatever, we will accept it. And the donation point for that is at Briarwood Art Center. And then, like I said, if you are interested in the event, you can go to my personal Facebook page and go to the event section, and you will see Mom's Giving and Community Baby Fair on there.
Perfect. And I'm gonna keep it short and sweet. First, we appreciate you all for joining in. We hope that you all just enjoyed this conversation about birth planning. We probably could dive in deep a little bit even more, go into detail, but we had to drop y'all little nuggets, So just another thing, just make sure you do your research. Research is key. And this is your birth plan. This is not us being doulas. This is not our plan. This is not your OB plan. This is your plan, and you can make it
Right.
whatever you want. Also, just going, keeping the momentum rolling. Next week, we will have Leela Harris. She is based in St. Louis, and she is a doula. And she also have, how many boys she got? 4 boys. So she is a mother of 4. So she has a wide range of information, knowledge, and I'm so happy to sit down and discuss things with her because we've been knowing each other since middle school. So it's just great to see both of our transformation. And then also, again, like how I was stating, come November, Thursdays at 8:30, same time, I'm going to start incorporating the Parent Trap conversation, so we can just have raw, real conversations about parenthood, not motherhood, because we always talk about us, but parenthood, mom and dads, us working together as a unit, as a family, because I feel as though that is missing, and we need to start bringing that back. So again, we hope that you all enjoyed this conversation. Also, just plug in me and Kent. We are both doulas. So if you all need any information, we are lactation consultants. If you need any resources, please feel free to message us. Follow our pages. It's Be Well. Is that correct for
Yep.
you?
Be Well by Candace.
Be Well by Candace, and then mine is My Light Paternal Care and Wellness. And yes, we hope you enjoyed this conversation. Again, Candace, thank you so much for joining. I just always love it. This, y'all, this just started a weeks ago, and we already at 3. So
Yeah.
many more to come. It's just crazy how God works. Well, it's not crazy, but look how God works. Okay.
Yeah.
So, thank you all. And again, you all be blessed and enjoy y'all Tuesday.
Bye.